The cafeteria of Zenith Academy buzzed with the usual chaos of midday meal service. Students from 12 different species gathered in clusters, their conversations creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and spoken languages. At a corner table sat Maya Chen, hunched over a datapad, her dark hair falling forward to hide her face from the world. A tray slammed down next to her, making her flinch. 3 Velcrin students towered over her table, their blue-scaled skin catching the artificial lights. The leader, Zixthor, bared his pointed teeth in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Look what we have here. The little human is eating alone again," Zixthor said, his voice carrying across nearby tables. Several students glanced over, then quickly looked away. Nobody wanted to get involved. Maya kept her eyes on her datapad, her fingers gripping it tightly. She had learned during her first week at the academy that responding only made things worse. The Velcrin were one of the strongest warrior races in the Galactic Council. Humans were considered weak, fragile, and generally unremarkable. "I'm talking to you, Dirt Worlder," Zixthor continued, reaching down to flick her tray. Her meal splattered across the table. "Oh, how clumsy of me." His 2 companions laughed, a harsh barking sound that made other students in the cafeteria turn away uncomfortably. Maya slowly stood up, gathering her things without a word. She had practiced this routine many times before. "Where do you think you're going?" Zixthor blocked her path, his bulk easily twice her size. "Don't you want to clean up your mess?" "Please move," Maya said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please move," one of the companions mocked in a high-pitched voice. "Humans are so polite, so weak. I heard your planet barely passed the technological requirements for council membership. Is it true your species still fights wars among yourselves?" Maya's jaw tightened, but she remained silent. Yes, humanity was new to the galactic stage. They had only made first contact 15 years ago. Compared to civilizations that had existed for thousands of years, humans were infants stumbling into a universe much bigger and more dangerous than they had imagined. "Answer him," Zixthor growled, leaning closer. His breath smelled like raw meat. Before Maya could respond, a firm voice cut through the tension. "Is there a problem here?" Professor Kavalan approached, his forearms crossed over his chest. The insectoid teacher's compound eyes fixed on the Velcrin students with an expression that needed no translation. "No problem, Professor," Zixthor said smoothly, stepping back. "Just having a friendly conversation with our human classmate." "Then I suggest you return to your own table," Kavalan said, his mandibles clicking disapprovingly. "Now!" The 3 Velcrin students retreated, shooting hostile glances at Maya as they went. Professor Kavalan watched them go before turning to Maya. "Are you all right, Miss Chen?" "Fine, sir. Thank you." Maya grabbed her bag and hurried toward the exit before the professor could ask more questions. She heard him sigh behind her but didn't look back. The corridor outside the cafeteria was mercifully empty. Maya leaned against the cool metal wall, closing her eyes and taking deep breaths. She had been at Zenith Academy for 3 months now, and every day felt like a battle just to survive. The academy was considered the most prestigious institution in the galaxy, training future diplomats, scientists, and leaders. Getting accepted had been her dream, her ticket off Earth and into a bigger universe. Nobody had warned her it would be like this. Her communicator buzzed. A message from her roommate, Tessa, another human student. "Where are you?" "We have xenobiology in 10 minutes. Maya pushed off the wall and started walking. The halls of Zenith Academy were marvels of engineering, with gravity adjustments for different species and environmental controls that could shift between atmospheres and sealed sections. Holographic displays showed news from across the galaxy, reminding students they were part of something vast and interconnected. She reached the xenobiology lab just as the chime sounded. Tessa waved at her from near the back. At least she had one friend here, even if Tessa didn't understand why Maya wouldn't stand up for herself. "You okay?" Tessa whispered as Maya slid into the seat beside her. "I heard what happened in the cafeteria." "Word travels fast," Maya muttered. "It's a small campus. Well, small for having 2,000 students from across the galaxy." Tessa studied her face. "You should report them. This is the 4th time this month. And what would that accomplish? The Velcrin military sponsors half the Academy's funding. Zixthor's father is some kind of war hero. I'm just a human from a backwater planet that only joined the Council because we invented faster-than-light travel." Tessa frowned but didn't argue. They both knew the politics involved. Humanity was at the bottom of the galactic hierarchy, barely tolerated by older, more established civilizations. Earth had nothing special to offer except enthusiasm and a willingness to learn. Professor Darnus entered the lab, her crystalline form refracting light in dazzling patterns. The Litharian teacher was ancient by human standards, over 300 years old, and one of the leading experts in xenobiology in the known galaxy. Today we will be discussing the fascinating topic of biological warfare adaptations in hostile environments, Professor Darnus announced, her voice like wind chimes. Many species throughout the galaxy have evolved remarkable defensive mechanisms. The Kron can secrete acid from their skin. The Vextari can alter their molecular structure to phase through solid matter. Even the seemingly gentle Florians have neurotoxins in their flowers. Maya found herself drawn into the lecture despite her earlier troubles. This was why she had come to Zenith Academy, to learn about the incredible diversity of life in the universe. Professor Darnus displayed holographic models of different species, explaining the evolutionary pressures that had shaped their abilities. "And what about humans, Professor?" A Velcrin student called out, his tone mocking. "What special adaptations do they have?" Several students laughed. Maya sank lower in her seat. Professor Darnus's crystalline eyes seemed to focus on the questioner. "An excellent question. Human biology is indeed fascinating, though many dismiss it as unremarkable. They have no natural weapons, relatively weak physical strength compared to many species, and their lifespans are quite short." More laughter rippled through the classroom. Maya felt heat rising to her cheeks. "However," Professor Darnus continued, her voice taking on a sharp edge that cut through the laughter, "humanity possesses several traits that are exceedingly rare in the galaxy. Their capacity for rapid healing, their extreme adaptability to different environments, and their unusual persistence would make them formidable survivors in scenarios that would break other species. But we will explore these topics in greater depth another day." The lecture continued, but Maya barely heard it. She stared at her datapad, wondering if Professor Darnus had been trying to make her feel better or simply stating facts. Either way, it didn't change her daily reality. After class, Maya walked alone through the Academy Gardens, a massive biodome that recreated environments from dozens of worlds. She found her usual spot beneath a cluster of earth oak trees, one of the few reminders of home in this alien place. Sitting on the grass, she pulled out a small metal case from her bag. Inside were 3 items: a faded photograph of her family, a military medal, and a letter with an official seal. Maya stared at these objects, her fingers trembling slightly as she traced the edges of the metal. Nobody at the academy knew. Nobody could know. She had worked too hard to leave that life behind, to become someone different. But sitting there with the taste of humiliation still bitter in her mouth, she wondered if running from the past had been the right choice. The sun set through the biodome's filters, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Maya carefully packed away her secrets and headed back to her dormitory, her shoulders straight and her face carefully blank. Tomorrow would be another day of survival, another day of hiding who she really was. She just hoped she could keep hiding long enough to graduate. The simulation chamber hummed with energy as Maya strapped on her safety harness. Combat training was mandatory for all students at Zenith Academy, regardless of their chosen field of study. The reasoning was simple. The galaxy was not always a safe place, and every citizen of the council needed to know basic self-defense. For Maya, these sessions were a special kind of torture. "All right, pair up," Instructor Vexron called out, his massive Kron body casting a shadow over half the class. "Today we're running escape and evasion scenarios. Your goal is to survive for 15 minutes while your partner hunts you in a randomized environment. Remember, safety protocols are active. Nobody gets actually hurt." Students began pairing off naturally, friends choosing friends. Maya stood awkwardly to the side, waiting to be assigned to whoever was left over. It was always the same. "Chen, you're with Zixthor," Vexron announced, checking his roster. Maya's heart sank. Zixthor grinned across the room, cracking his knuckles. Even with safety protocols, he could make this experience miserable. The holographic environments felt real, and pain receptors still registered impacts, even if actual damage was prevented. "Try not to break too quickly." "Human," Zixthor said as they entered their assigned chamber. "Where's the fun in that?" The chamber dissolved around them, reality replaced by a dense jungle environment. Thick vegetation pressed in from all sides, and the air felt heavy and humid. Somewhere in the distance, alien creatures called out in haunting voices. "You have a 30-second head start," the automated voice announced. "Beginning countdown now." Maya didn't waste time. She ran, pushing through hanging vines and leaping over twisted roots. Her human body, so weak compared to the Velcrin, at least had agility on her side. She needed to find cover, somewhere she could hide and wait out the clock. Behind her, she heard Zixthor's countdown end with a roar. He was coming. Maya's mind raced as she ran. The Academy's simulations were designed to test tactical thinking, not just physical prowess. She needed to use the environment to think rather than just react. She spotted a stream cutting through the jungle and made a quick decision, jumping in and wading upstream. Water would hide her scent in tracks from the simulation's tracking systems. "I can smell your fear, human," Zixthor's voice echoed through the jungle. He was closer than she expected. Maya pulled herself out of the stream and climbed a thick-trunked tree, hiding in the dense canopy. Her breathing was ragged, her heart pounding. She forced herself to calm down, to slow her breathing. Below, she heard Zixthor crashing through the underbrush. He passed directly beneath her tree, his head swiveling as he searched. For a moment, Maya thought she was safe. Then his eyes locked onto her hiding spot. "Found you," he snarled. What happened next made Maya's blood run cold. Instead of using the simulation's stun weapons like he was supposed to, Zixthor began climbing the tree. The simulation would prevent real injury, but the experience would still be terrifying. "This isn't part of the exercise," Maya called down, her voice shaking. "Who cares? The instructors can't see everything that happens in here. It's just you and me, weak little human." Maya scrambled higher, but the branches were getting thinner. Zixthor was heavier, but his strength allowed him to pull himself up quickly. She was trapped. Then something inside Maya shifted. She looked down at the Velcrin climbing toward her. His teeth bared in anticipation, and something old and cold settled over her. Her hands stopped shaking. Her breathing steadied. When Zixthor reached for her ankle, Maya moved. She didn't think, didn't plan. Her body simply reacted with muscle memory she had tried to forget. She twisted, using the branch's leverage, and drove her heel into Zixthor's face. The impact made him lose his grip. He fell, crashing through branches before the simulation's safety protocols caught him in a force field cushion. But Maya was already moving, dropping from branch to branch with controlled precision, landing in a crouch on the jungle floor. Zixthor staggered to his feet, blood from his nose bright against his blue scales. The blood was simulated, but his rage was real. "You're going to regret that," he growled, charging at her. Maya's body moved on instinct. She sidestepped his charge, using his momentum against him, sending him sprawling into a tree trunk. He roared and came at her again, faster this time. She blocked his first strike, absorbed the second, and countered with a precise hit to his solar plexus that made him wheeze. For 30 seconds, they fought. Not the clumsy exchange of a student who barely knew self-defense against a trained warrior, but a real fight. Maya's movements were economical, precise, and devastatingly effective. Every strike hit vulnerable points. Every block redirected force rather than meeting it head-on. Then reality crashed back in. Maya looked down at her hands, at the Velcrin student gasping for breath at her feet, and horror washed over her. What had she done? "Simulation ended," the automated voice announced. Emergency override activated. The jungle dissolved, replaced by the stark white walls of the simulation chamber. Instructor Vexron burst through the door, his expression thunderous. "What happened here?" he demanded. Zixthor stumbled to his feet, his pride wounded more than his body. "She attacked me. I was just trying to complete the exercise and she went crazy." Maya stood frozen, unable to speak. Her carefully maintained disguise had cracked and she didn't know how to explain what had just happened. "Is this true, Chen?" Vexron asked, his voice slightly softer. I just defended myself," Maya managed to say. He wasn't following the exercise rules. Vexron looked between them, his expression unreadable. "Both of you to my office now." The walk to the instructor's office felt like a death march. Other students stared as they passed, whispers following in their wake. Tessa caught Maya's eye in the corridor, her face full of questions, but Maya just shook her head. In the office, Vexron replayed the simulation footage. Maya watched herself fight, and it looked like a stranger, fast, efficient, brutal. Not the weak, timid human everyone thought they knew. Interesting. Vexron said slowly. Chen, where did you learn to fight like that? I took some self-defense classes back on Earth, Maya said weakly. Self-defense classes? Vexron's tone suggested he didn't believe her for a second. Those looked like military combat techniques. Advanced ones. Zixthor was watching the replay with disbelief on his face. That's impossible. Humans don't fight like that. They're weak. Clearly not all of them, Vexron said dryly. He turned to Zixthor. As for you, I clearly saw you deviate from the exercise parameters. You turned a training scenario into a personal attack. That's a serious violation. But she is not the one on trial here. You deliberately tried to harm a fellow student, safety protocols or not. That shows poor judgment and lack of control. You're suspended from combat training for 2 weeks and this incident will be noted in your file. Zixthor's face darkened with fury, but he didn't dare argue with the instructor. He shot Maya a look of pure hatred before storming out of the office. Vexron waited until the door closed before speaking again. Now, Chen, you and I both know those weren't self-defense classes. I've trained soldiers for 40 years. I know combat experience when I see it. Maya felt panic rising in her chest. I don't know what you mean. You don't have to tell me, Vexron said, surprising her. Everyone has secrets, and I respect that. But I'll give you some advice. If you have skills, hiding them completely isn't always the answer. Sometimes people need to see strength to respect boundaries. They'll ask questions, Maya said quietly. Let them ask. You don't owe anyone your life story. Vexron gestured to the door. You're dismissed, but Chen, whatever you're running from, you can't run forever. Maya left the office in a daze. The corridor outside was thankfully empty. She leaned against the wall, her legs suddenly weak. Everything she had worked for, all her careful hiding had nearly unraveled in one moment of lost control. Her communicator buzzed insistently. Messages from Tessa, from other students, even from people she barely knew. Word was spreading fast about the human who had beaten a Velcrin in combat. The questions would start soon. The scrutiny, the attention she had desperately tried to avoid. Maya made her way to her dormitory room and locked the door behind her. She pulled out the metal case again, staring at the contents. The military metal seemed to mock her, a reminder of everything she had tried to leave behind. There was a knock at the door. Maya, it's me. Let me in, Tessa. Maya hesitated, then opened the door. Her roommate entered quickly, closing it behind her. Okay, what the hell was that? Tessa demanded. I just watched the footage that's already circulating on the student network. You absolutely destroyed Zixthor. Since when can you fight like that? I don't want to talk about it. Too bad. I'm your friend and friends talk. Tessa sat on Maya's bed, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. You've been here 3 months and I don't know anything real about you. Where you're from, what your family does, why you're really at this academy. And now this? Maya sat down heavily in her desk chair. It's complicated, then uncomplicate it. Start with the basics. Where did you learn to fight? Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly, she opened the metal case and handed Tessa the military medal. Tessa's eyes widened as she read the inscription. Maya, this is a Seoul Defense Force combat medal. These aren't given out lightly. No, they're not. Tessa held the medal carefully as if it might break. Her fingers traced the engraved words, for valor and defense of humanity. She looked up at Maya. Her expression transformed from curiosity to something deeper, something that looked almost like fear. Tell me, Tessa said softly. Maya closed her eyes. She had kept the secret for so long that speaking it aloud felt like pulling thorns from her throat. I enlisted in the Seoul Defense Force when I was 17. Lied about my age. Earth was still new to the galactic community, and we were desperate for people who could fight. Not because we wanted war, but because we needed to prove we could defend ourselves. You were a soldier. I was a lot of things. Maya stood and walked to the window, looking out at the alien landscape beyond the academy. The galaxy isn't kind to weak species. You know that. When humanity first made contact, there were civilizations that thought we would make good slaves. Others thought we should be eliminated before we became a threat. The Council protected us barely, but they made it clear. If we couldn't defend ourselves, we didn't deserve to exist among the stars. Tessa was silent, listening. Maya had never seen her roommate so serious, so Earth built a military from scratch. We studied every combat technique from every species we could access. We trained harder than anyone because we had to. And I was good at it. Maya's voice cracked slightly. Too good. What happened? Maya turned from the window. There was a colony. New Terra, on the edge of council space. Mostly human settlers. A few thousand people trying to make a life on a new world. Pirates attacked. Not just raiders looking for supplies, but slavers. Vrexkai mostly, with hired guns from a dozen species. She could still see it clearly when she closed her eyes. The distress call. The desperate rush to get there in time. The burning buildings and screaming civilians. My unit was assigned to evacuation and defense. I was 19 years old and I had been in combat exactly 3 times before. Nothing prepared me for what we found. Maya's hands clenched into fists. They had already taken over half the colony. Hostages everywhere. Command told us to wait for backup, to not engage until we had overwhelming force. But you didn't wait, Tessa guessed. I couldn't. There was a school, full of children. The pirates were herding them onto transport ships. I watched through my scope and I just moved. I didn't think about orders or tactics or what I was supposed to do. I just knew I had to stop them. Maya walked to her desk and pulled up a holographic display. She had kept the after-action report buried in encrypted files, hidden from the Academy's background checks. Now she showed Tessa the dry clinical language that described what had happened. Specialist Maya Chen acted without authorization, engaging enemy forces in a fortified position with no backup. She neutralized 17 hostile combatants, freed 32 hostages, and held the position until reinforcements arrived. Casualties among civilian population, 0. Casualties among friendly forces, 0. Enemy casualties total. Tessa stared at the report. 17? By yourself? The medal wasn't for killing people, Maya said quietly. It was for saving them. But after that day, everything changed. Command started giving me impossible missions. The ones where failure was expected. They called me the Ghost because I could slip into anywhere and complete objectives that entire squads couldn't handle. That sounds like you were a hero. I was a weapon. Maya's voice was hard. They pointed me at problems and I solved them. For 2 years I did things I'm not proud of. Legal things authorized by council law, but still, there was so much blood. And I was so young, Tessa. I was 21 when I finally realized I didn't recognize myself in the mirror anymore. She pulled up another file, this one showing her discharge papers. I requested early separation from service. They didn't want to let me go, but they couldn't force me to stay. I had fulfilled my minimum term, and technically I had the right to leave. So they let me go with one condition. I couldn't talk about what I had done. No interviews, no books, no glory stories. Just silence and a ticket to anywhere I wanted to go. So you came here, Tessa said, to be a student. To be normal. I wanted to be someone else, someone who studied xenobiology and learned about different cultures and never had to hold a weapon again. I thought if I could just keep my head down, blend in, survive the bullying and the prejudice, I could eventually graduate and become the person I wanted to be instead of the person Earth's military had made me. Tessa was quiet for a long moment, processing everything. Finally, she said, "That's why you never fight back. Why you let Zixthor and the others treat you like dirt. You're afraid of what you'll become if you start fighting again. I saw what I was capable of today. Did you watch the footage? I almost hurt him, Tessa, really hurt him. The safety protocols were the only thing that stopped me from putting him in a medical pod. And the worst part? A piece of me wanted to do it. Wanted to show him what a weak human could really do. But you didn't, Tessa pointed out. You stopped yourself. That's the difference between then and now. You have control, do I? Because it didn't feel like control in that simulation. It felt like instinct. Like muscle memory taking over. Maya sat back down, suddenly exhausted. I joined this academy because I wanted to prove that humans could be more than soldiers, that we could contribute to galactic society in peaceful ways. And in one afternoon I destroyed that image. Tessa handed back the medal. You didn't destroy anything. You defended yourself against someone who was trying to hurt you. That's not the same as being a weapon. Tell that to everyone who's going to be asking questions tomorrow. Tell that to Zixthor's friends. Tell that to the administration when they start wondering what else I've been hiding. A chime sounded from Maya's communicator. An official summons from Dean Zalvex's office scheduled for first thing tomorrow morning. Maya's stomach dropped. Great, the dean wants to see me. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Tessa looked at the message and frowned. You know what? Maybe it's time to stop being afraid. You're not a soldier anymore, but you're also not helpless. There's gotta be a middle ground. I don't know how to find it. Then we'll figure it out together. You're not alone in this, Maya. You've spent 3 months protecting everyone from yourself. Maybe it's time to let someone protect you for a change. Maya wanted to believe her, but years of self-reliance were hard to overcome. Still, it felt good to finally have someone who knew the truth. She wasn't carrying the weight of her secrets alone anymore. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the fight in her mind, analyzing every move. She had been rusty, slower than she used to be. But the fundamentals were still there, buried under 3 months of pretending to be weak. She wondered if she had ever really left that life behind or if she had just been hiding from it. The next morning came too quickly. Maya dressed carefully in her academy uniform, making sure everything was perfect. She wanted to present herself as a serious student, not a threat. Tessa walked with her to the administrative building, offering moral support. Whatever happens, don't let them intimidate you, Tessa advised. You earned your place here just like everyone else. Dean Zalvex's office was located at the top of the building, with windows overlooking the entire campus. The dean himself was a Thurian, a species known for their wisdom and diplomatic skills. His silver fur was perfectly groomed, and his 3 eyes studied Maya with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. Miss Chen, please, sit. His voice was surprisingly gentle. Maya sat, her back straight, hands folded in her lap. Military bearing was hard to shake off. I've been reviewing yesterday's incident in the simulation chamber. Also, I've been doing some research into your background. You have quite an interesting file, or rather, you have remarkably little file for someone who spent several years unaccounted for between leaving school and applying to this academy. Maya's heart raced, but she kept her expression neutral. I took some time to travel before deciding to pursue higher education. Dean Zalvex pulled up a holographic display. I have friends in the human military. Made some calls last night. Fascinating what one can learn with the right connections and security clearances. So this was it. Her cover was blown. Maya prepared herself for expulsion. I know who you are, Maya Chen. Or should I say Specialist Chen of the Seoul Defense Force, Ghost Company. Quite the decorated history. Though most of it is classified above my clearance level, the parts I could access paint a picture of an extraordinary soldier who saved countless lives. Sir, let me finish. Dean Zalvex's tone remained gentle but firm. I also know why you left, and I know why you came here under a partial identity. You're not the first person to attend this academy while running from a violent past. We've had former Velkrin warriors seeking peace, Kron berserkers looking for control, even a retired Vrexkai assassin who now teaches philosophy. Maya blinked in surprise. You knew, I suspected. Your application was too perfect, too carefully constructed. But I admitted you anyway because your entrance examination showed genuine brilliance, and because everyone deserves a chance to choose who they want to be, regardless of who they were. Then why am I here? Dean Zalvex leaned back in his chair. Because yesterday's incident has created a situation we need to address. The footage of your fight has spread across the student network. Questions are being asked. Zixthor's family is demanding answers, and frankly, some of our students are frightened of you now. Maya felt sick. I understand. You need me to leave. On the contrary, the dean said, surprising her again. I need you to make a choice. You can continue hiding and I'll help you. I'll classify the footage, put out a cover story, make this go away. You can go back to being the quiet student nobody notices. Or you can stop hiding. Not completely, but enough. You can acknowledge that you have a background in combat, that you're more than you appear. You can set boundaries, command respect, and show these young fools that humanity is not to be trifled with. Dean Zalvex's 3 eyes focused intently on her. The galaxy needs to learn that humans are not weak. Perhaps you could be the one to teach them. Maya stared at Dean Zalvex, trying to process what he was suggesting. After months of hiding, of making herself small and invisible, he was asking her to do the opposite. The idea terrified her almost as much as it tempted her. I don't want to be a soldier anymore, Maya said quietly. That's why I came here. I'm not asking you to be a soldier. I'm asking you to be yourself, fully. A student who happens to have a unique background. There's a difference. The dean stood and walked to the window, gazing out at the campus below. Do you know why this academy exists, Miss Chen? To train future leaders and bridge cultural gaps between species. That's the official answer. The deeper truth is that we exist to prove coexistence is possible. Every species here has centuries or even millennia of prejudices to overcome. Humans are new to the galactic stage, and yes, many species look down on you, but that will never change if humans keep apologizing for existing. Maya thought about the past 3 months. Every insult she had swallowed, every push and shove she had endured without response, every time she had made herself smaller to avoid conflict. Had any of it earned her respect? No, it had only painted a target on her back. If I stop hiding, things will get worse before they get better, Maya said. Zixthor won't be the only one who sees me as a challenge. Perhaps. Or perhaps seeing a human who refuses to be victimized will make people think twice. Dean Zalvex turned back to her. I'm not going to force you to decide right now. Take a few days. Think about what you really want. But know this. Whatever you choose, you have my support. This academy is meant to be a safe place for all students, and that includes you. Maya left the dean's office with her mind spinning. She had expected punishment, expulsion, scandal. Instead, she had been given permission to stop hiding, and she didn't know what to do with that freedom. Tessa was waiting in the corridor, practically bouncing with anxiety. Well, what happened? He knows everything. About my service, about Ghost Company, all of it. And he says I can choose. Keep hiding or stop pretending I'm helpless. Maya started walking, needing to move while she thought. He made it sound so simple. Maybe it is simple and you're making it complicated, Tessa suggested. Look, I get why you wanted to leave the military behind. But you can't erase who you are, Maya. Those skills, that training, it's part of you whether you like it or not. The question is what you do with it. They walked through the gardens, past the earth oak trees where Maya usually hid. Today, several students were gathered there, and they fell silent when they saw her approaching. Maya felt their eyes on her, weighing and measuring. The whispers started as soon as she passed. That's her. I heard she's some kind of secret agent. My roommate said she killed 50 people with her bare hands. The rumors were already growing, becoming more outlandish with each retelling. By tomorrow, she would probably be credited with destroying entire planets. Maya felt a headache forming behind her eyes. In xenobiology class that afternoon, the atmosphere was different. Students who had never looked at her before now stared openly. Some with fear, some with curiosity, a few with respect. Professor Darnus noticed immediately. I see we have some distracted students today, the crystalline professor said sharply. Perhaps we should address the elephant in the room, or rather the human. Miss Chen, would you like to clarify any rumors circulating about you? Maya froze. Every eye in the class turned to her. This was it. Her chance to either cement her new reputation or try to downplay everything. She thought about Dean Zalvex's words, about 3 months of being pushed around, about the weight of constantly hiding. I used to serve in Earth's military, Maya said clearly. I left that life behind to study here. I'm not a threat to anyone who doesn't threaten me first. That's all anyone needs to know. The classroom erupted in whispers. Professor Darnus raised one crystalline appendage for silence. Thank you for your honesty, Miss Chen. I hope everyone will respect your privacy and focus on their studies. Now, if we could return to the lesson on adaptive camouflage. But the whispers didn't stop. After class, Maya found herself surrounded by students for the first time since arriving at the academy. Most kept a respectful distance, but their questions came rapid fire. Is it true you fought Zixthor? Did you really serve in the military? Can you teach me to fight like that? Maya pushed through the crowd, overwhelmed. Tessa ran interference, physically blocking students from following. They made it to an empty classroom and locked the door. This is what you were afraid of, Tessa said. The attention, the questions. I can't do this. I can't be what they want me to be. Maya slid down the wall, sitting on the floor with her head in her hands. They're not seeing me. They're seeing the ghost, the legend, the soldier who doesn't exist anymore. Then show them who you are now, not by hiding, but by just being yourself. The real you, not the soldier and not the victim. Tessa sat beside her. Who is Maya Chen when she's not pretending? It was a good question. Maya had spent so long being what others needed her to be that she had lost track of who she actually was. In the military, she had been a weapon. At the academy, she had been a target. But stripped of both roles, who remained? I don't know, Maya admitted. I used to think I knew. Before the military, I wanted to be a xenobiologist. I was fascinated by alien life, by the diversity of species in the galaxy. That's why I joined the Defense Force in the first place, to protect Earth so we could be part of that amazing universe. Somewhere along the way, I forgot about the wonder and just focused on survival. Then start there. Be the person who studies xenobiology because she loves it, who happens to know how to defend herself if necessary. You don't have to be one extreme or the other. Maya looked at her friend. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You were just too busy hiding to notice. Tessa grinned. Come on. Let's get dinner and face the cafeteria together. Time to stop eating alone in corners. The cafeteria was packed when they arrived. Maya felt the shift in energy as students noticed her. The conversations didn't stop completely this time, but they got quieter. People watched her with cautious interest rather than dismissal. Maya and Tessa got their food and sat at a table in the middle of the room. Not hiding in the corner, not drawing attention, just existing normally. It felt strange and terrifying and somehow right. They were halfway through their meal when Zixthor appeared. His two cronies flanked him, and his face was still bruised from their fight. The cafeteria fell silent as he approached their table. We need to talk, Zixthor said, his voice tight with controlled anger. Maya set down her fork carefully. Then talk. Not here. Outside. Anything you have to say to me can be said right here. Maya met his eyes steadily, refusing to be intimidated. I'm done with private confrontations. Zixthor's jaw clenched. Around them, students pulled out their communicators, ready to record whatever happened next. This would either be the moment Maya proved she had changed, or the moment she confirmed everyone's fears about her. You made me look weak, Zixthor said, his voice dropping to a dangerous growl. In front of everyone. My family is demanding I restore my honor. Your honor? Maya stood slowly, and despite being half his size, something in her bearing made Zixthor take a step back. You cornered me in a simulation, broke the rules, tried to hurt me for fun, and you think your honor was damaged when I defended myself? You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself. Maya's voice carried across the silent cafeteria. For 3 months you've bullied me. You and your friends. You pushed me around because you thought I was weak, because you thought humans were beneath you. You never once considered that I might have a line I wouldn't let you cross. So what? Now you're going to fight everyone who challenges you? Going to beat us all up? Zixthor's voice dripped with sarcasm. No. Maya shook her head. I'm going to ask you once, politely, to leave me alone, to stop targeting me and anyone else you think is weaker than you. I don't want to fight you, Zixthor. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to study and learn and be left in peace. And if I refuse? Maya was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. Then I'll defend myself. Every time. And I'll file formal complaints through proper channels. And I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. Not through violence, but through truth. The cafeteria waited. This was the moment that would define everything going forward. Zixthor's pride warred with common sense across his face. His friends watched nervously, clearly unsure what their leader would do. Finally, Zixthor spoke. You're not what I thought. Humans, I mean. I thought you were all soft, weak, easy targets. We're not. We're just different. Maya's voice softened slightly. And honestly, I'm tired of having to prove that. I'm tired of fighting, Zixthor, aren't you? Something shifted in the Velcrin's expression. He looked around the cafeteria, at all the students watching, recording, waiting for violence. Maya could see him calculating, weighing his options. My father says the strong have a duty to protect the weak, Zixthor said slowly. Not to prey on them. Maybe I forgot that. It wasn't an apology, not exactly. But it was acknowledgement, and that was more than Maya had expected. She nodded slowly. Maybe we both forgot things we shouldn't have. Fresh start? Zixthor studied her for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, including his friends, he extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting he had probably learned in orientation. Fresh start. Maya shook his hand, and the cafeteria erupted in conversation. Not hostile whispers this time, but genuine discussion. Something had shifted, not just between Maya and Zixthor, but in the way students were looking at both of them. As Zixthor and his friends left, Tessa grabbed Maya's arm. Did that really just happen? I think so. Maya sat back down, her legs suddenly weak. I can't believe that worked. You gave him a way out without destroying his pride. Smart. Maya picked up her fork again, but her hands were shaking too much to eat. The adrenaline from the confrontation was wearing off, leaving her exhausted. She had managed to de-escalate instead of escalate, to be strong without being violent. It felt like a small victory. The next few weeks at Zenith Academy passed in a strange new rhythm. Maya was no longer invisible, but she wasn't exactly comfortable with her new visibility either. Students approached her differently now, with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Some wanted to befriend her, others wanted to test her, and a few seemed determined to prove that one human's combat skills didn't represent all of humanity. She discovered that standing up for herself had created an unexpected problem. She had become a symbol. "Another interview request," Tessa said one morning, scrolling through Maya's messages. "This one's from the Galactic Student News Network. They want to do a feature on human integration into academy culture." "Delete it," Maya said without looking up from her xenobiology homework. "Delete all of them." "There are 47 requests here, Maya. At some point you're going to have to address this." "I addressed it. I told everyone I'm just a student. What more do they want?" Tessa set down the communicator. "They want to understand. Look, whether you like it or not, you're probably the first human that most of these students have actually met. You're their entire understanding of what your species is capable of. That's a lot of pressure, but it's also an opportunity. I didn't come here to be a spokesperson for humanity. Nobody comes here to be anything except what they become," Professor Darnis said, materializing beside their table in the library. Her crystalline form caught the light in rainbow patterns. "Miss Chen, Miss Tessa, might I borrow Miss Chen for a moment?" Maya exchanged glances with Tessa before following the professor to a private study room. Professor Darnis sealed the door and dimmed the windows for privacy. "I wanted to discuss your recent research proposal," the professor began. "Your idea about studying human adaptation mechanisms in extreme environments is fascinating. But I notice you've been hesitating to submit it formally." Maya had indeed been working on a research project in her spare time. It examined how humans could survive in environments that would kill most other species, from extreme temperatures to high radiation zones. But publishing it felt like exposing another aspect of humanity that might invite unwanted attention. "I'm concerned about how it might be received," Maya admitted. "Some species already think humans are dangerous. Highlighting our survivability might make that worse." Professor Darnis's crystalline eyes studied her, or it might earn respect. "Knowledge dispels fear, Miss Chen. The more other species understand about humanity, the less they have to imagine and assume. You saw what happened when people learned I could fight. The rumors got out of control. I don't want that happening on a larger scale. The rumors got out of control because you provided no context. Let me share something with you." Professor Darnis pulled up a holographic display. "This is a paper I published 200 years ago about Litharian mineral composition. At the time, my people were considered fragile, delicate, unsuited for anything but artistic pursuits. Do you know what happened when I revealed that our crystalline structure makes us nearly indestructible in certain environments?" "What?" "Nothing dramatic. No sudden fear or respect, just gradual understanding. Other species began working with us in mining operations, in exploration of volcanic worlds, in situations where our unique properties were assets rather than curiosities. Knowledge changed perception." She dismissed the holograph. "Your research could do the same for humans. Show them you're not dangerous but durable, not threatening but resilient." Maya considered this. "You really think it would help?" "I think hiding human capabilities hasn't helped. Ignorance breeds contempt. Show them the science behind your species' remarkable adaptability, and let the data speak for itself." After her conversation with Professor Darnis, Maya returned to the library to find an unexpected visitor at her table. Zixthor stood awkwardly near Tessa, who looked ready to call security. "It's okay," Maya said, though she remained cautious. Their truce in the cafeteria had held, but they hadn't exactly become friends. "What do you need?" "I wanted to talk to you about something." Privately, Zixthor glanced at Tessa. "Anything you need to say, you can say in front of Tessa." The Velcrin shifted his weight, clearly uncomfortable. "Fine. Look, I've been thinking about what you said. About my behavior. My father came to visit last week, and I told him what happened. About the simulation, about how I treated you." Maya waited, saying nothing. "He was ashamed of me. Not because I lost a fight, but because I fought dishonorably in the first place. He said I had forgotten the warrior's code, that preying on the weak wasn't strength, it was cowardice." Zixthor met her eyes. "I wanted to apologize properly, for everything I did to you." It was the last thing Maya had expected. Thank you. That means something. There's more. Some of the other Velkrin students have been talking. About humans, about you specifically. Some of it's respectful, but some of them think you're an anomaly. They think most humans are still weak and you're just an exception." He hesitated. "I wanted you to know there might be challenges coming. Not from me, but from others who want to test themselves against you." Maya's stomach sank. "Great, more fights. Not if you establish yourself first. In Velkrin culture, warriors can declare themselves off limits by demonstrating their skill in a formal setting. If you do that, most honorable fighters will leave you alone. Most? There are always idiots. But it would stop the constant testing." Zixthor pulled up something on his communicator. "There's an academy-wide combat tournament coming up in 3 weeks. It's optional, mostly for students in military studies, but anyone can enter. If you competed and showed what you can do officially, it might settle things." Maya shook her head immediately. "I'm not here to fight. I told everyone that, I know. But right now you're a mystery, and mysteries invite investigation. If you fight once publicly under controlled conditions, you remove the mystery. People will know what you're capable of and stop pushing to find out." Zixthor looked genuinely concerned. "I'm trying to help, Chen. Take it or leave it." After he left, Tessa turned to Maya. "He has a point. I hate to say it, but he has a point. I came here to escape violence, Tessa, not to participate in it voluntarily. It's not real violence, though. It's a tournament with rules and safety measures and judges. More like a demonstration than actual combat." Tessa pulled up the tournament information. "Look, there are different brackets for different skill levels. You could enter the advanced bracket, show off a little, and then never have to prove yourself again. Or I could make things worse, prove that I'm dangerous, scare people even more. Or you could prove you're in control, that you can fight when necessary but choose not to. That's different from being unable to fight at all." Maya spent the next few days wrestling with the decision. She attended classes, worked on her research proposal, and tried to ignore the growing number of incidents where students tried to provoke her into demonstrating her abilities. A Kron student accidentally shoved her in the hallway. A Vextari made increasingly aggressive comments during group projects. Even a normally peaceful Florian asked her to show some human combat techniques for a cultural studies presentation. The pressure was building, and Maya could feel the careful balance she had constructed starting to crack. Dean Zalvex called her to his office again. "I've been hearing reports. Students are testing you, trying to provoke reactions. How are you handling it? By not reacting. By walking away." Maya's voice was tired. "But I don't know how long I can keep doing that. It's like they won't believe I'm not a threat unless I prove I am one, which makes no sense. Welcome to the paradox of power. Those who have it are always asked to demonstrate it, and those who refuse to demonstrate it are assumed not to have it at all." The dean folded his hands.
"Have you considered Zixthor's suggestion about the tournament?"
"You know about that? I know about everything that happens at my academy. It's not a bad idea, Miss Chen. Controlled environment, official rules, legitimate purpose, and it would give you a chance to show these students that humans can be formidable without being aggressive. I left the military so I wouldn't have to fight anymore. And yet you find yourself in fights anyway. Perhaps the answer isn't to avoid all conflict, but to engage with it on your own terms." Dean Zalvex pulled up a holographic form. "I'm not going to pressure you, but if you decide to enter the tournament, you have my full support. Think about it." That evening, Maya sat in the gardens beneath the earth oak trees. She pulled out her metal case and looked at her military medal, at the photograph of her family, at the letter releasing her from service. For so long, she had seen these objects as anchors to a past she wanted to forget. But maybe they were also reminders of who she was at her core. Someone who fought to protect, not to destroy. Her communicator buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Heard you might enter the tournament, hope you do. Would be interesting to see what a human can really do. Consider this a friendly challenge. Krixva, Kron Defense Academy, current champion." Maya stared at the message. A friendly challenge from the reigning tournament champion. If she entered and lost immediately, she would look weak. If she won, she would look dangerous. There was no safe option, unless she changed what winning meant. Maya pulled up the tournament rules and started reading carefully. The competition wasn't just about fighting. There were different categories: combat proficiency, tactical thinking, survival scenarios, and team coordination. It was designed to test well-rounded skills, not just brute force. An idea began forming. What if she didn't compete to win but to demonstrate? What if she entered multiple categories, showed competence without domination, and proved that human strength came from adaptability rather than any single overwhelming advantage? She opened a message to Dean Zalvex. "I'll do the tournament, but I want to do it my way." The response came quickly. "I wouldn't expect anything less. My office tomorrow, we'll discuss strategy." Maya closed her communicator and looked up at the artificial sky through the biodome. Somewhere out there, Earth continued spinning, full of humans who were counting on students like her to prove they belonged among the stars. It was a heavy burden, but maybe it was one she had been training to carry her entire life. The next morning, Maya met with Dean Zalvex, Professor Darnus, and surprisingly, Instructor Vexron. They gathered in a private conference room to discuss her tournament strategy. "I don't want to fight just to fight," Maya explained. "I want to compete in a way that shows human capabilities without making us look aggressive or dangerous." Instructor Vexron nodded approvingly. "Smart. The tournament has 5 main categories. I suggest you enter 3. Combat proficiency to show you can fight, survival scenarios to demonstrate human adaptability, and tactical thinking to prove you're not just physically capable but mentally sharp." "Skip the team coordination?" Maya asked. "Team events require partners, and frankly, finding students willing to team with you might be complicated right now. Better to focus on individual categories where you control the variables." The instructor pulled up tactical simulations. "Let's talk strategy." The tournament arena filled rapidly on the morning of the competition. Students from all years and species packed the observation decks, their excited chatter creating a wall of sound. Maya stood in the preparation area, with other competitors trying to control her breathing and ignore the knot of anxiety in her stomach. She had spent the past 3 weeks training with Instructor Vexron, not to become a better fighter but to refine her approach. Every move had been calculated to demonstrate skill without brutality, capability without aggression. The goal wasn't to dominate, but to show what humans could do when they chose to reveal themselves. "First time competing?" asked a voice beside her. Maya turned to see a Kron female easily twice her size with deep red exoskeleton plates. "I'm Krixova. We exchanged messages." Maya Chen. They shook hands, the Kron's grip careful despite her obvious strength. "I've been looking forward to this. Humans are still such a mystery to most of us. Your physical specifications suggest you should be easy to defeat, but your reputation suggests otherwise. I'm curious which is true." Krixva's tone was friendly rather than hostile. "Don't worry, I'm not here to hurt you, just to understand." "That's all I want too. Understanding." Maya appreciated the straightforward approach. "Good luck out there. May we both fight with honor." Krixva moved off to join the other Kron competitors. Tessa appeared at Maya's side carrying water and nutrition bars. "How are you feeling?" "Like I'm about to prove I'm either a genius or an idiot. Possibly both." Maya accepted the water gratefully. "Is it too late to run away?" "Way too late. Half the academy is out there, and I'm pretty sure I saw news drones from 3 different planetary networks. You're kind of a big deal now." "Fantastic," Maya muttered. The tournament began with opening ceremonies. Dean Zalvex stood at the center of the arena, his voice amplified across the space. "Welcome to the annual Zenith Academy Combat Tournament. Today we celebrate the diversity of skills and strategies that make our student body unique. Remember, this competition is not about proving superiority, but about demonstrating excellence within each tradition and style. Let the tournament begin." The crowd erupted in cheers and species-specific calls. Maya watched from the preparation area as the first matches began. The combat proficiency category started with preliminary rounds, dozens of fights happening simultaneously across different sections of the arena. Maya's first match was scheduled for mid-morning. Her opponent was a Vextari male named Tixnor, known for his ability to phase through physical attacks. It was considered an almost impossible matchup for most fighters. When Maya entered the combat zone, the crowd noise focused on her. She could feel thousands of eyes watching, analyzing, judging. She pushed the awareness aside and focused on her opponent. Tixanor bowed respectfully. "I will try not to end this too quickly. You're an interesting curiosity." Maya returned the bow, saying nothing. The judge, a neutral Thurian official, signaled the start of the match. Tixanor immediately phased, his body becoming translucent and shifting through space. He reappeared behind Maya, striking at where she had been. But she was already moving, her combat training letting her predict the angle of attack. She didn't try to hit him directly, instead focusing on positioning and timing. For 2 minutes they danced around each other. Every time Tixanor phased and attacked, Maya was somewhere else. She wasn't trying to win through force, but through reading his patterns and staying one step ahead. The crowd began to murmur, recognizing the skill required to fight a Vextari without being able to land direct hits. Maya waited, patient, until Tixanor made a mistake. He phased too predictably, reappearing in a pattern she had identified. When he solidified, Maya was already there, not with a devastating strike, but with a controlled sweep that took his legs out from under him. She followed through with a joint lock that gave him no choice but to tap out or risk injury. "Victory to Chen," the judge announced. Tixanor stood, rubbing his shoulder with respect in his eyes. "You fought well. Most opponents try to overpower me. You chose to outsmart me instead. Your ability is impressive. I just had to find a different approach." Maya helped him to his feet, making sure the gesture was visible to the watching crowd. She won her next 2 matches similarly, using strategy and precision rather than overwhelming force. By the time she reached the quarterfinals of the combat proficiency category, the crowd's attitude had shifted. They were no longer watching a mysterious threat, but a skilled competitor who fought with intelligence and control. The survival scenario category began that afternoon. Competitors were placed in extreme environmental simulations and rated on their ability to survive and complete objectives. Maya found herself in a frozen wasteland with sub-zero temperatures and limited supplies. She watched through the observation feed as a Velcrin competitor struggled in the same scenario, his species' biology not adapted for extreme cold. He lasted 14 minutes before the simulation pulled him out for safety reasons. When Maya entered her simulation, she immediately assessed her resources and environment. Humans had evolved to survive in diverse climates. Her body could regulate temperature more efficiently than many species realized. She built a shelter from snow, conserving energy rather than fighting the environment. She completed the objective, retrieving a data core from a simulated crash site in 28 minutes, well above average. The next survival scenario was high radiation exposure. Species with crystalline or metallic biology excelled here, while organic competitors struggled. Maya knew her body would take damage, but human cellular repair mechanisms were remarkably efficient. She pushed through the scenario, accepting calculated risks that others wouldn't take, and completed it successfully despite the radiation exposure. By evening, Maya had advanced to the finals in both combat proficiency and survival scenarios. The tactical thinking category would be held the next day, testing her ability to solve complex strategic problems. That night, exhausted and sore, Maya returned to her dormitory to find it surrounded by students, not hostile, but curious and even admiring. They parted to let her through, and she heard snatches of conversation. "Did you see how she moved? Like water flowing around obstacles. Those survival scores were incredible. She barely seemed affected by conditions that would kill most of us. Humans are tougher than we thought." In her room, Tessa was waiting with medical supplies and food. "You're all over the student networks. The footage of your fights is being analyzed by combat instructors across the galaxy. I think you might have started something." Maya collapsed on her bed. "I just wanted to stop being harassed." "Well, mission accomplished. Now you're being celebrated instead. How does it feel?" "Exhausting, terrifying, kind of amazing." Maya accepted the pain medication Tessa offered. "I never wanted to be special, Tessa. I just wanted to be normal. Maybe normal for humans is special to everyone else. Did you consider that?" "I have confidence you'll make the right decision for yourself." Maya left the office and headed to the library, where she had agreed to meet Tessa and a study group. The group had formed organically after the tournament, students from different species who wanted to work together, rather than in segregated clusters. It included Tessa, Zixthor, Krixva, and several others. "There she is, our celebrity," Krixva called out as Maya approached. The crone had become a genuine friend over the past months, her direct nature complementing Maya's more reserved personality. "Please don't start that again," Maya said, but she was smiling. She settled into her seat and pulled out her datapad. "What did I miss?" "We were discussing the ethics assignment," Zixthor said. The Velcrin had changed significantly since their early confrontations. He was more thoughtful now, less quick to aggression. "Professor Kvaun wants us to analyze a first contact scenario, where cultural misunderstandings led to conflict." I was arguing that military intervention was justified. "Of course you were," Tessa said with affectionate exasperation. "Not everything requires military solutions. Sometimes it does," Maya said quietly. Everyone looked at her surprised. She rarely spoke about military matters, but the key is knowing when force is necessary versus when it's just the easiest option. True strength is choosing the appropriate response, not always the most powerful one. Zixthor nodded slowly. "That's what you showed us in the tournament. You could have dominated every match, hurt people to prove your superiority, but you chose precision over power. It was more impressive than simple victory would have been." The conversation flowed naturally from there, different perspectives being shared and debated respectfully. Maya found herself contributing more than she once would have, no longer afraid that speaking up would draw dangerous attention. She had learned that the right kind of attention, earned through competence and integrity, was actually protective. After the study session ended, Maya walked alone to the training facilities. She had continued working with instructor Vexron, not to become a better fighter, but to maintain her skills in a healthy, controlled environment. The instructor had helped her reframe combat training from something traumatic into something empowering. Vexron was waiting in the practice room. "How are you feeling today?" "Good, Strong." Maya began her warm-up stretches. "Dean Zalvex offered me a position helping develop integration programs for the council." "And how do you feel about that?" "Scared, excited, uncertain if I'm the right person for it." Maya moved through a series of forms, her body remembering the movements even as her mind processed her emotions. "I came here to escape being defined by my military service. Now I'm being asked to use everything I learned from that experience to help others." "It feels circular, or it's a spiral," Vexron suggested. "You're not returning to the same place you left. You're arriving at a new place that incorporates all your experiences, past and present. You've integrated who you were with who you're becoming." They sparred lightly, Vexron testing her reflexes and form. Maya had learned to enjoy these sessions, to appreciate the discipline and focus they required without associating them with violence or survival. Combat could be an art form, a meditation, a way of understanding yourself. It didn't have to be about hurting others. "You've come far," Vexron said as they finished. "When you first arrived, you fought like someone terrified of their own capabilities. Now you fight like someone who understands and accepts them. That's growth." That evening, Maya returned to her dormitory to find a message waiting from Earth. Her family contacted her infrequently, respecting her need for space while she found herself at the academy. This message was from her younger sister, Sarah. "Hey Maya, I saw the tournament footage. You were amazing. But more than that, you looked happy. Actually happy, not just going through motions. I wanted you to know that made me proud. You always carried so much weight, even before you enlisted. Like you had to protect everyone all the time. Seeing you protect yourself, stand up for yourself, it made me realize you're finally protecting the most important person. You. Love you. Come visit when you can." Maya watched the message 3 times, tears streaming down her face by the end. She hadn't realized how much she needed to hear that until the words reached her. She had been so focused on not being the soldier she used to be, that she had forgotten to become the person she wanted to be. Now finally, she was finding that balance. She recorded a response. "Hey Sarah, thank you for that. You're right, I am happy. For the first time in a long time, I'm actually happy. I'm learning that I don't have to choose between being strong and being peaceful. I can be both. I can acknowledge my past without being trapped by it. I can use what I learned to help others without losing myself. I'll come visit during break. I have so much to tell you." The next morning, Maya woke early and walked to the gardens. The earth oak trees were shedding their leaves following seasonal cycles programmed into the biodome. She sat beneath them and pulled out the metal case she had carried since arriving at the academy. The military metal gleamed in the artificial sunlight. The photograph of her family smiled up at her. The discharge letter remained as official and formal as the day it was issued. For months, these objects had represented a past she was trying to escape. Now she saw them differently. They were part of her story, important chapters in a book that was still being written. Maya added something new to the case. A small holographic chip containing footage from the tournament, her research paper and messages from friends she had made at the academy, past and present existing together, not in conflict but in conversation. She closed the case and stood, feeling lighter than she had in years. She knew what her answer would be to Dean Zalvex's offer. She would accept the position not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She would use everything she had learned, all her experiences, good and bad, to help others navigate the challenges she had faced. Walking across campus toward the dean's office, Maya passed students from a dozen species. Some nodded in greeting. Others called out friendly hellos. A young human student, clearly a first year, watched her with wide, hopeful eyes. Maya stopped and smiled at them. "It gets better," she said simply. "I promise." The student's face lit up with relief and gratitude. It was a small moment, barely worth noting, but Maya felt its significance. This was why she had fought so hard to change perceptions. Not for herself alone, but for every student who would come after her. Every human trying to find their place among the stars. Dean Zalvex looked pleased but not surprised when she accepted his offer. "I expected you would. You've never been someone who runs from challenges once you've decided to face them. I've learned that running doesn't solve anything. It just delays the inevitable confrontation." Maya smiled. "Besides, I have something to offer now. Experience, perspective, and proof that being underestimated doesn't have to be permanent. When do you think you'll be ready to start?" "I already started. Every day I show up as myself, completely and authentically. I'm demonstrating what this program should be about. Helping people find their strength without losing their identity. Teaching others that different doesn't mean weak and that respect must be earned but shouldn't have to be fought for." The dean nodded approvingly. "Well said. I think this partnership will benefit everyone involved." As Maya left the office, she received a notification. Her research paper had been accepted for publication in the Journal of Xenobiological Studies, one of the most prestigious scientific publications in the galaxy. Professor Darnus had attached a note. "Congratulations. Your work will help countless beings understand human resilience. More importantly, it will help humans understand themselves." Maya walked through the campus one more time, taking in the familiar sights with new appreciation. The academy that had once felt hostile now felt like home. Not because it had changed, but because she had. She had stopped trying to be invisible and started being herself. She had stopped hiding from her past and started integrating it into her future. In the cafeteria, her friends were already gathering for lunch. Tessa waved enthusiastically. Zixthor had saved her a seat. Crixfa was engaged in an animated debate with a Florian student about optimal nutrition strategies. This was her community now, built not through hiding or fighting, but through honesty and connection. Maya joined them, sliding into her seat with easy confidence. Someone asked about her meeting with the dean, and she shared her news. The table erupted in congratulations and excited questions about what the new position would entail. She answered honestly, acknowledging her nervousness but also her determination to do the work well. Later, as the sun set over the biodome in shades of orange and purple that reminded her of Earth's skies, Maya stood once more beneath the oak trees. She thought about the journey she had taken, from terrified soldier to isolated student to confident advocate. It hadn't been easy or straightforward. There had been moments of doubt, pain, fear, and anger, but there had also been moments of connection, growth, understanding, and triumph. She pulled out her communicator and recorded a message to her former unit, the soldiers she had served with in Ghost Company.